Well, Mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 12 years ago. And then through the years, she developed Parkinson's disease along with it. And, you know, for a number of years, she did okay. And then she just began to go downhill. And she got to the point where she didn't walk. And so Dad could not keep her at home. And we live in an area where we have a hard time finding someone medically that we could hire to stay and really be able to trust her with 24 hours a day. And so we finally had to put her in a nursing home. But my sister goes every night and my dad goes every day, and so therefore keep a real hands-on with her care. But if anybody's ever had to deal with a loved one in the nursing home, a lot of times they get them on a lot of medication and stuff like that. And we didn't understand why she seemed to get so much worse so quick. And it really, she was so heavily medicated. But she got to the point that she was losing so much weight. She stopped eating and didn't eat anything by mouth anymore, and they put in a feeding tube, and that's how they kept her alive. And her little head would just jerk violently forward, and her mouth would open and close, just like clamping it shut like this. It was just a violent reaction for her. And she'd got down to 106 pounds, which is so thin for my mother. And so I knelt by her bed one night and just asked God to please help her. Because, Mother had always been such a wonderful Christian, and I was by no means blaming God. I never do that. I know He loves us. He loves her. But sometimes there's just things you don't understand. And I just asked Him to please help her. And I said, if it's to take her to heaven, that is okay. I'm just asking you to help my mother. And I remember telling God, if you're allowing her to go through this, then there has to be a reason, but I don't have to know the reason now. I can wait for heaven for that. And I like to tell people I was just having a talk with my Heavenly Father about my precious earthly mother, so. And I have to say that honestly, I thought that she would probably pass away. And you just kind of prepare your heart for that to happen and stuff, if that's ultimately what's going to happen. And so right after that, my husband Roy and I went to Denver, Colorado, and we were visiting in the home with some friends. And Martha said to me, we're going to have a lady over here Monday night that's going to talk to us about glutathione. So I said, well, what in the world's glutathione? And she said, I don't know. And so I tell folks it's like two blondes communicating, and she didn't know it, and I didn't either. So I've laughed about that a lot of times. And so she said, all I know about this glutathione is it has something to do with the immune system. And she gave me a little booklet to read on it and everything. And I said, well, I'm interested in anything I can learn about the immune system because my husband had prostate cancer. So we made a point to stay and listen to this lady talk. And so what happened is in this meeting, they talked about what glutathione was and how important it is to the body, and it is the food for the immune system and all this, and something natural in the body. And so we were very, very interested in what we were hearing. And then there was a lady that had Alzheimer's, and we saw this video of her, and it had turned her around in a year and had really improved her condition. In 2 months, they saw a big change by raising her glutathione levels. So, and she was taking this product called Immunocal. So I looked at my husband and said, if this would help Mother that much, it would be worth trying. So I said, can you sell this stuff? And they said, well, yes. And I said, all right, where do I sign? So I became a distributor. Now, my goal was not to run out there and be in business selling this stuff. I'm a singer, and I was busy and doing all that. But I knew I could buy it cheaper if I was a distributor, and I figured my mama's going to need a lot of it because she's really sick. So that's how this all started. But I remember telling my husband that night, I said, if this helps my mother, then the world as I know it is going to hear about it. And so we began to take it. We bought a couple boxes, and we had a couple weeks traveling before we got home. And I, had the other stuff sent home, so it'd be there when I got there, and I could go take it to Mom. And so by the time we got home, I was experiencing all kinds of great things with this. I had allergies, and 5 days later, I'm not experiencing any of the stuff with the allergies. I'd quit taking the allergy medicine, and I had a sciatic nerve problem, and it quit hurting and hasn't hurt since. And I had a issue with my neck, had a bone spur, and had an MRI, and was having all kind of neck pain and stuff. And that was gone by the time we got home. So I take this down and begin to give this to my mother. And I want to say something, too, because in case somebody hears this that has a loved one in the nursing home. Because the doctor will have to write an order in order for them to administer it to them. Because, they won't give them an aspirin in there unless they have a doctor's order. And so I was prepared for a fight if I needed to have one to see that my mother had this, because I had read Dr. Gutman's book on glutathione and all that it would do. And so I was convinced that my mother needed this, and I was ready to do whatever it took to see that she got it. And I just want to remind folks, this is it's your mother or your dad or your loved one. And so I was not going to let anyone tell me that she couldn't have it when I knew she needed it. So, that was really, really important to me. So the doctor has no idea how fortunate he was that he said yes. So I told him, I said, I want my mother on this. I told him what it was, and he said, okay. So he wrote me this order, and they began to give it to her, and she began to get better. And in about 4 weeks, my mother was eating again. This jerking in her head had stopped. She still looked pretty bad, and her little mouth had a lot of movement, but it had stopped that horrible thing. And we began to see that get better and better, and the Alzheimer's thing, Mother began to come back to us. We had her home for her first visit 5 months after she was on this. And it was a just amazing difference in everything about her. Then in 10 months, we brought her home, and I bought me a video camera, and I videoed Mother.
Oh, it's hot, 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 hot. Woo!
Oh. And she talked and interacted with us, and she played, games with her grandkids and stuff. Hand it to me, baby. It's right there on the coffee table.
Don't be too smart now.
Oh, I'm not being smart. I'm being really nice.
Oh, where are you at?
And it gave me my mama back. And of course, I was, from just what it did for me, I was already convinced this stuff was really special. And so I began to share it with other people, and they began to see all kinds of great results. And so when we fix our immune system and we give it what it needs, then we're going to see a difference in ourselves and those that we love.